There are some hurts that cut to the bone, especially when the hand holding the knife is your own family's. My wedding album, it isn't really an album. It's a folder on my desktop labeled City Hall October. And sometimes, when I'm working late and the house is quiet, my mouse will hover over it. I never open it. I don't need to. I remember the weight of that day perfectly. I think I've always been the infrastructure of my family. The load-bearing wall. It was never a role they assigned me, more like one I just grew into, the way a tree grows around a fence. I was the one with the scholarship, the one whose report cards were a source of quiet, reliable pride. I started paying my own rent at 19, because it just didn't occur to me to ask for help. It's what you did. You work, you pay your bills. You stand on your own feet. Alex, my brother, was different. He was the dreamer. The project. His life was a series of brilliant highs and dramatic lows, and my parents were the permanent safety net, stretched out under his tightrope. A frantic call to Mum about rent. A quiet chat with Dad to handle a credit card bill. It wasn't malicious. It was just the dynamic. The sun revolved around him, and I was a satellite in a steady, predictable orbit. Useful, but never the main event. I was the sturdy sedan. He was the flashy sports car that was always in the shop. And God, did they love working on that engine. So when my fiancé Mark and I got engaged, a big wedding was never even on the table. The whole idea felt absurd. Like wearing a ball gown to go grocery shopping. We were saving, meticulously, for a down payment on a house. That felt real. A one-day party that costs as much as a car just felt like burning money to watch the pretty flames. Our plan was simple, and to us, perfect. City Hall, just us and our witnesses. Then a barbecue in the backyard of our little rental. We'd hang string lights, get a keg, order a mountain of pulled pork. 50 people, tops. Simple, meaningful, ours. I remember the exact moment I told my mum. It was a Tuesday, in one of those cheerful, sterile coffee shops she likes. The air smelled like burnt espresso and sugar syrup. I had my laptop out, showing her my Pinterest board. The lights, the tablecloths, the wildflower bouquets I was going to make myself. I even had a color-coded budget spreadsheet. I was so proud of it. I wasn't asking for a cent, just sharing my excitement. And that's when her face crumpled. It was a practiced kind of crumpling, a performance I'd seen before. She started twisting her paper napkin into little white bits. "Oh, honey," she sighed, her voice thick with regret. "You know, with your father's business being so slow, we just can't help. At all. It just breaks my heart." Dad showed up a few minutes later, and he was more blunt. He glanced at my spreadsheet, my neat columns and careful calculations, and just shook his head. A heavy, disappointed sound. "We're tapped out, kiddo. We'd have to cash out our retirement to give you anything right now." A hot flush of shame crawled up my neck. My spreadsheet suddenly felt like a vulgar invoice. I felt greedy. I immediately started backpedaling, tripping over my words. "Oh my God, no, of course not. We never expected anything. I was just showing you." I felt guilty for making them feel bad. I was apologizing to them for their own story. Looking back on it, the calculation is what gets me. It was staggering. Our wedding day was nice. The October air was crisp. My $200 dress felt beautiful. Mark's hands were shaking when he read his vows, and I cried, real tears of happiness. Our friends were incredible, turning our shabby backyard into something magical. My parents came, of course. They had to. My mum made a point of telling everyone how sensible I was, how down to earth. It wasn't a compliment, it was a justification. It was a story she was telling them, and me, about why my wedding looked the way it did. Dad gave us our gift, a high-end toaster oven. "See?" he said, clapping Mark on the shoulder. "This is all you really need." They smiled for the pictures, but it was a thin, brittle smile. I saw my dad check his watch twice during the toasts. They were gone before we even cut the cake. A quick hug, a peck on the cheek, and they slipped out, leaving the toaster oven on the gift table like a silver tombstone. The next month was strangely quiet. Then Alex called. He and his girlfriend of 6 months, Sarah, were engaged. I was genuinely happy for him. I loved my brother, even if the system around him was maddening. I asked about their plans. "Oh, you know," he said, all breezy and vague. "Something small. Not sure yet." The first little crack appeared during a call with my Aunt Carol. She'd called for a recipe, and out of nowhere she said, "I hope you're saving your vacation days for the big trip." My mind went blank. What trip? The silence on her end was heavy. The kind of silence full of words someone is trying to swallow. "Oh, nothing, dear," she said, her voice suddenly high-pitched. "Just my old brain rambling." She changed the subject so fast it gave me whiplash. But it was too late. A tiny, cold knot formed in my stomach. Something was off. The real break didn't come with a bang. It came with the blue glow of a phone screen in a dark room. It was a Thursday night, maybe 1 in the morning. Mark was asleep. I was just mindlessly scrolling Instagram. A notification popped up. My cousin had tagged my mother in a photo. Curiosity. That's all it was at first. I tapped it. The image that loaded was perfect, professionally shot. My brother and Sarah on a black sand beach, a perfect Maui sunset behind them. They were glowing. I read the caption from Sarah's sister. The words felt like a language I didn't understand. "Surprise wedding in Maui. A huge thank you to my parents' names for throwing this unbelievable all-expenses-paid dream destination wedding. You are the most generous people we know." My thumb went numb on the screen. I stopped breathing. I tapped on the sister's profile. It was public, and there wasn't just one photo. There was a whole album, a digital monument to their generosity. I just scrolled. The Four Seasons, fire dancers, an open bar with scotch I knew cost hundreds a bottle. Sarah was in a designer lace gown, a gown that probably cost more than my entire wedding. The dress, the food, all of it, and my parents. In every other photo. Front and center. Beaming with a kind of incandescent pride I had never, ever seen directed at me. Not at graduation, not on my own wedding day. This was different. This was pride of ownership. "This is our son." There was Dad, laughing, handing Alex the keys to a red Mustang. There was Mum, her eyes shimmering with joyful tears, helping Sarah with her veil. The same mother who told me, with a breaking heart, that they were tapped out. The air didn't just leave my lungs, it felt like it was sucked out by a vacuum. It wasn't sadness, not right then. It was a cold, sharp, terrifying clarity, like the moment after a car crash. Every piece clicked into place. The tears in the coffee shop, the praise for my sensibility, the quick exit from my backyard. They hadn't just not helped me. They had actively performed poverty for me, so they could perform wealth for him. They made sure I asked for nothing so he could have everything. I put the phone down. In the quiet of my bedroom, I could picture the toaster oven on my kitchen counter. It wasn't a gift, it was a price tag. It was the value they had placed on me. I didn't sleep, I just watched the ceiling turn from black to gray. The next morning, I didn't call. This required a face-to-face ending. I drove to their house. I used my old key. The sound of it turning in the lock felt final. They were in the kitchen, sipping coffee, looking tan and relaxed. They smiled when they saw me. I didn't say a word. I walked to their granite countertop and placed my phone down between their mugs. The Maui album was open. My mum's smile didn't fade. It froze, and then it just cracked. My dad looked from the phone to my face, and all the color drained out of him. He looked old. "It was a last-minute thing, honey. A package deal." Mum stammered, her hand fluttering to her throat. "Her tell." My dad tried a different tactic. "Alex deserved a real wedding," he said, his voice low, defensive. I looked right into his eyes. "And I didn't?" The silence was the only answer I needed. It was a confession. My voice, when I finally spoke, was steady and cold. It scared me. "It was never about the money. I never asked you for money. I asked for honesty. You could have just said, 'We are saving for Alex.' I would have been hurt, but I would have understood. Instead, you performed. You put on a play for me. You lied. And you made me feel small for a backyard barbecue, while you were wiring thousands to a Hawaiian resort. I took a deep breath. It felt like the first clean breath of my life. We're done. The performance is over. Mum started to cry. Don't say that. You're my daughter. Your daughter, I said, picking up my phone. Got married in October with a toaster oven for a gift. I don't know who that woman in Maui is, but she's not my mother. Lose my number. Walking out of that house was like tearing off a limb. But I knew it was the only way to stop the poison. For weeks, my phone was a war zone. Texts from relatives telling me I was tearing the family apart, that I had to forgive. Forgive what? The lie? Or the fact that I finally saw the truth? I blocked them all. The silence that came after was heavy at first, full of leftover feelings, old habits. But then, day by day, it became clean. It became peace. Last week, Mark and I booked 2 tickets to Italy. It's the honeymoon we couldn't afford last year. We're paying for it ourselves. And as I looked at the confirmation email, it hit me. My real wedding gift wasn't the toaster oven. It was the truth. It was the freedom from a lifetime of coming in second. It was the permission, finally, to be my own first choice. In a family conflict like this, would you choose to break the silence or keep the peace? Tell me your choice below.